Okay, we'll return to general session, and next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 19th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve them as submitted.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And we're up to public comment. No public comment today here. So we'll go right on to discussion items. The curriculum committee will meet on Thursday, April 25th at 4:30. We have the 2024-2025 draft meeting schedule. We just need to decide and confirm the July 2nd is our reorg. Is that good for everyone? Okay. That's good, Corey. December and January meetings. Consider one of those months to trim down our schedule by one meeting. December and January tends to be light for us, so we thought about, or it's proposed to us to either just have one December meeting on the 10th and one January meeting on the 14th in the calendar. Anybody see any issues with that?
Good. Okay.
Just trying to remember, we ended up having another meeting in January this year, right? Or we moved the one because it related to the budget issues. I'm just wondering.
I think we canceled one, and then we combined them this year as well.
Yeah.
I believe. And if we need to add one, of course we can based on the budget stuff. But it's so preliminary in the budget and the things that it really.
I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Have one in December and two in January, just because we can talk about the budget when it's proposed. But
so I think that the calendar we would look to trim to one meeting in December on the 10th, and potentially one meeting in January on the 14th if that works out. We can always add another one back, but right now we can set the schedule based on those if that's good with everyone. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one meeting in both December and January?
Correct. Yep, we're gonna shoot for December 10th and January 14th.
Okay.
That work? Okay, first meeting in April, either the 1st or the 8th, recommending April 8th as the state budget deadline is the 1st, so we usually don't have good information on that, so if everyone's good with that, I think we would schedule our first meeting in April for the 8th, hoping that the budget is out at that point in time for us next year. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yep, that sounds good.
DCMO BOCES special meeting is scheduled on Wednesday, April 16th. Due to the budget calendar, we'll have the second meeting in April on the 22nd to adopt the 25-26 budget, so that should be normal for us for the second meeting. And then the next thing we want to discuss is the August building walkthrough, which is separate from our August business meeting. We'll
We do have time for that?
yeah, just be thinking about what your August looks like if you have any vacations, things like that. If we can get that on the calendar probably earlier rather than later, just because Brett has to go through that whole process. He hasn't been through that process yet, so.
We'll give Dr. McDonald a time frame that he can work with Brett to determine when it might be ready.
And if we end up with a situation where if we're earlier than when they turned over their construction area, we could do our complete walkthrough, and then I could invite the board in to do just a quick look at that section, if they don't have it where it needs to be by the time we get there. But I think they will. I think having gone through it the first time and this not being over the kitchen, which was complicated, I think we'll get through a little quicker this year.
So we thinking a week prior to school starting again in that ballpark, or 2 weeks?
We tried to go 2 weeks,
Right.
2 weeks, because that's what we changed a couple years ago, Ronna, right?
Right, because we needed time to review everything and look through mostly safety issues that we were concerned about, but then allow them enough time to address it.
Before school, for any safety concerns. And we've identified some, some holes that need to be patched, some various things that were important.
All right, so we can probably formalize that, but I think time frame, give them that 2 week prior to school start time frame, and then we'll get that nailed down later June, maybe even in the July reorg. That works. Just a reminder that we have our special meeting next week on Tuesday, at 6 o'clock for one of the, BOCES administrative budget, their new board, candidates, as well as an update on our school budget, so next Tuesday at 6.
So the one thing that Corey and I came up with today, actually, in conversation with an OACM construction managers meeting today, with the capital outlay, every year, in order to get that into the state, right now they're looking at 6 to 8 month, 6 month, 2 weeks delay on after everything's submitted. It's very, very long. So of course, after that's done, then you gotta go out to bid, and then you gotta get contractors, and then you try to get it done by, it's gotta be done by June, the end of June. So capital outlay is very tight condensed. So one of the pieces that the architects need to submit is the formal approval of the budget, of the budget results. So the last couple of years, we've done a special meeting 2 days after, like the Thursday after the budget. So we're talking, we're gonna continue to do this. Why have it be a surprise? Let's talk about it on the calendar, because we're not gonna stop doing capital outlays, I don't believe, right? We know that they're advantageous, and so we're gonna continue to do that. Our thought is we should build right on their calendar to have, it could be early, it could be a 4:30 quick meeting and done, but we can get on your calendar for you.
And we'll also need one this year,
Right, we do need one this year,
the week of the vote,
so we'll try to target that Thursday, see if we can get a quorum to, after the budget vote, to approve the vote, so then we can get it submitted. Told Dan he's gotta get it in by the end of that week, so we'll get him everything he needs, and he's gotta get it submitted, that's on him, so.
Okay, other discussion items. I don't know if we wanna start talking about, who's running for our board this year.
Yes, I have decided not to seek another term, with a 3-year term, it's, I don't wanna commit to something that, I can't carry out, so I've decided not to run this time, so that does leave a spot. I know there was talk before about going down to a 5-person board, I think that's a little, short notice, unfortunately, and I apologize for that, but, so that does leave an opening, so if you know anybody, I've been asking around, but haven't had any takers yet.
I have 2 and nobody's.
And Tammy, you're planning on rerunning your stuff's in, so that's great.
my stuff in, so.
Thank you. So, just for everyone out there, we are looking for 1 position on the board, to be filled this year, and paperwork would have to be in by,
Monday, the 22nd by 5.
so if anyone, you guys know anyone that's interested, Monday the 22nd by 5,
Right,
And
so
the
I
number
have
of
petitioned
signatures,
25.
25.
yeah, so, I mean, it's very doable, for somebody to, get those signatures, but.
Given our difficulty in the last couple elections where we had writing candidates, thankfully, some very good writing candidates, some districts have resorted in putting a ad in the local paper saying Board of Education is seeking candidates for a position that's open. Do you want that to be?
I think we should hit it with all of our media,
Okay.
just to make sure.
Is it on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
Nothing's been
Yeah.
communicated
Oh,
out.
so-
Typically, we have not done that.
Right.
But in recent years, because of the difficulty of getting people to run, school districts have begun that. So,
I don't see any reason why we shouldn't test drive that this year.
okay, we'll get social media out, by the end of the week or beginning of next week, and we'll get it in the reporter next week.
And petitions are available in the district office.
See Corey?
I don't think it'll be one
Now you're what, 2 more years?
yet. Next year.
Oh, next year.
Okay, correspondence information.
There's one letter for the board from BOCES.
It's not really from BOCES, it's from the commissioners. BOCES sent it to us. It's an interesting read, 'cause I don't really know what the purpose of the read is.
Yeah.
But encouraging shared services and to work together and cooperate. But it was an interesting, usually, you know, there's a theme to it, but this one was kind of all over the place. I think it's just encouraging, because our commissioner trying to encourage us through these times. Commissioner Rose is kid-friendly, school-friendly, and really, in my opinion, gets the educational process and what we're about, so. But this was an interesting meeting.
Okay, do we have any additions to the agenda?
We do not have any additions, but it's my understanding that we are changing a couple of items from the consent agenda to new business. That would be item 7D and item 7E, so that you could discuss them and act on them separately from the consent agenda.
So with that, we'll go into the remaining consent agenda items, which is consent agenda A, B, and C. If anyone has any discussion on surplus or the BOCES service unit cost methodology, let me know. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda
As amended.
as amended. Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried.
Thank you.
Next, we have a new business, 8A, accepting donations. Second here. We'd like to accept the following donations with sincere appreciation. $10,146.74. Proceeds of 41 shares of Marriott International stock from Mary Lou Toner to be split between the varsity football, $5,073.37, middle school student council, $25,36.68, and field hockey at $25,36.69. $500 from CNS Engineers to the Walton Central School District to fund the end of year employee luncheon. $500 from Arcadis Architects, Engineering, and Landscape Architects to the Walton Central School District to fund the end of year employee luncheon. And $1,000 from the Larry Regas family to Larry Regas' scholarship in memory of Larry and Sally Regas.
Make a motion to accept the generous donations.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Donations are accepted. And business 8B is to adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance of serial general obligation bonds.
Make that a motion to adopt them.
Second.
And this will require a roll call vote. Mr. Bedine?
Yes.
Mr. Dumont?
Yes.
Mr. Dutcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Tweedy? Yes. Mr. Verweer?
Yes.
And Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Okay. And now we have new business 8C.
Mhm.
That will be the
Resignation.
resignations. One second. Resignations of excuse me, Megan Lewis H, AC chairperson, and Nate Cutting.
Mr. Cutting's resignation is effective May 5th.
Thank you.
Make a motion to accept those resignations.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. We have a request for 2 unpaid leave of absence.
So for this resolution, you would be accepting the unpaid leave from Jeannie Grote and Angel McClemens and denying the request from Nathan Cutting.
discussion on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. And now we're up to supervisor's remarks. Okay.
Mr. Robinson, do you have anything you wanna comment on?
I do not.
Okay. I will make a comment on just an update on the workplace violence, in addition to Rick's comments here. The workplace violence, the document, there's a plan that we're currently working on, that we will be bringing forward to the board, and that will then be an appendix to the annual safety plan adoption. But that's in development now. As Rick said here, everybody's done a great job. Really appreciate health and safety's assistance in this from DC and Mobosi's, as well as all of our bargaining units and all of our staff members who were very understanding and actually gave us some excellent feedback in the process. So, as I think I said this before, the timing of this, it was, once again, like New York State, just off, but the process is always good when you're gonna talk about safety. And we did find some very good adjustments to make, and which again, has always been a priority here at Walton. Brett's report, Mr. Wood, the generator transfer switch, that thankfully was under warranty, and it's being swapped out. The entire unit was faulty, which, if you recall, the first 2 times that they ran a test, we had things that got damaged. Most of the big items, all the big items, thankfully were on other warranties in Rick's world, but kept saying, what is going on? And it was all coincidence, or they had other answers for it. So this is the first time it actually went live. And we thought it was fine. You know, you got, I think, 3 different emails from
Right.
myself and Corey that day. I mean, I completely was off base when I thought we were good. And then come to find out, we had a faulty switch, transfer switch. So, which validates, which was part of my discussion today, working with the contractor and working through the details, which validates the whole idea that all the lights that were damaged that had to be swapped out, the brand new lights, the same contractor, thankfully, when they ran a transfer switch, got blown out. We had major equipment failures that had to be fixed by Rick. He was here till I think 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on one weekend, Saturday night, Sunday morning, taking care of it so we could operate on a Monday. Not things you want to have happen with situations like that. So thankfully, things happen for a reason. Thankfully, we had that moment. We identified it, and it wasn't in the middle of a real emergency where it was sub-zero and we were open as Red Cross Center or something going on that we needed it severely for. So we ended up with an early dismissal, and that's always good to run those drills from time to time as well. So all in all, it was a good day, interesting day, good day.
Now, did they say what the timeline is gonna be? Because I know they had been on back order.
We just asked it today. They're expecting it actually they're expecting it by the end of this week to have it in hand, and then they'll be down to figure out the reinstall. And then we got to work through the logistics of when are they going to test it, because that's not, you know, which thankfully the last time we held them out, they were going to do right in the middle of the day. I said, no, after your first 2 test runs, I don't think so, or first test run. And thankfully we held them off because it might end up with other issues. So this one, we're going to be very sensitive to when we're going to test it and make sure that we've got a buffer so that we can respond if something fails. So that was a big one. But they're working well. That was part of our meeting today. We have monthly, what they call OACM, don't ask me what they stand for. It's construction management, I know that piece. But we have it monthly, and it's a long meeting. It's everything we have going on in all construction areas, and we hit on this today and received that update.
I'm happy to see that there's other in the O&M department, other, employees going to these trainings and getting educated on, you know, the specific, you know, boilers and, electrical stuff.
Yeah, it seems to be a philosophy and a strategic practice of Brett's is to make sure, because again, he did the job, if you recall, and he was in Bill's position, he was in Millard's position, so he knows how important it is to have the knowledge to be able to upkeep that equipment. And each one is so specified. So he's pulling them with the trainings and working on getting them so they can be more independent driven and not reliant solely on him, one person. You always talk about redundancy, and that's what he's looking for. So it's great.
Well, we're in that field, education, so
That's right.
I think that's good.
And transportation is going well. We're still waiting as Mr. Nolan identified here. We still do not have a build on date from Leonard's. We do have a commitment from them guaranteeing us this year's new buses by the end of the summer. We're still having a push out of last year's. Don't have the dates, but they did say first quarter, so it's this time of year. Doesn't surprise me that we don't have it yet. So can later start building them in March, April. So no surprise yet, but I'm gonna directly get in the middle of it to make sure. I'm gonna send them what they gave us in writing and make sure they are holding up to their obligations moving forward. Our salesman, Bob, retired in January, so we're working with new salesmen. But thankfully, I'm trying to remember which executive, one of the executives was involved in the process. So still feeling optimistic, and then we'll go from there. They've done an excellent job of catching up on their service, on all of our service needs that we got behind on. They had some personnel changes, so things are going better in that department.
And they've always been a good company to work with
Yeah, I think
over the years.
they lost their way personnel wise a little bit with their service areas, but and they didn't know, which we know can happen. Once management knew, they responded and did a nice job with it. But it was snowballing on us. On my end, we did hear, here's a follow-up for the bus electrification. NYSEG has reached out. They actually were going to be on site on the 4th, but the weather kept them away. They're now going to be on site, I think, next week to do that site visit that they need to do, to then get that information back to Arcadis, and then we can get that major piece of that study complete. So that is happening. The NYSERDA electrical study is moving along. NYSERDA has reached out. They'll be on site soon as well. We did, moving through that process, they have initial questions and they go back and forth on getting the plan exactly where it needs to be, and then they come on site. So we're moving forward with that. That will result in listing at the end of the day in that report of what they will fund off of that, in that electrification study, so for energy study. So that's a good thing. Good thing going on there. And phase 2, we're starting to get down into detail on planning and detailing out the phase 2 operations in Townsend, learning from some of the phase 1 hiccups that we had. So pulling everybody together, we're pulling in Rick Shaw from BOCES. We're gonna make sure that we have all the safety things that we stumbled with at the beginning until we got things in place. Gonna try not to stumble and have it all in place. And so we come out of the gate nice and secured, and then move forward. That will be starting the last day in June, when that last give back day. They literally have movers here. They'll move those other classrooms that need to be moved, and we'll turn the building over. So we're gonna do the same thing. All operations will be here, including the office for a short time period until they get done with the demolition, which will all be under asbestos abatement. And if you recall, the asbestos abatement and the asbestos is only black sealant substance that's in between the seams. Look at the table seams, and because it's in there, and because of the nature of where it is, they're just doing it all underneath the abatement. We do not have a whole asbestos abatement. It's for that substance. So nothing to be concerned about there. Okay, that's all I got. That was enough, I think. Sorry.
Good. Okay, There's no need for an executive session,
From my end.
so I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are